Roll call, we'll start over there with Rich.
Wagner, here.
Janice Borgstrom-Durst here.
Tom Munson. Dan Egler.
Mike Peterson.
Chris McCurran.
Alright. We will go on to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any additions or corrections? Hearing none, I'll take motion to approve.
So moved.
Second? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, we'll move on to coordinator report.
Okay. So a couple of things that I wanted to point out on the coordinator report for this month. An update on the Dodge County housing study. I spoke with Matt at Maxfield Research. They finalized their market areas and sub-market areas, so they were finishing up on the work that they could do with the information that had previously been provided, and in the next few weeks they intend to reach out directly to community for any further follow-up, hoping to have the final report to us by mid to late fall, so hopefully October timeframe we'll be looking at that housing study report being presented to us. Regional development tour follow-up. I just wanted to cover on that a little bit. Since the 1918 school building had been listed on the market, I did reach out to 4 individuals on the tour that were directly interested with that property. To my knowledge, one for sure has scheduled a tour of that to look to see if it's something that they may want to consider as one of their own projects. So they should be updating us on that as that occurs. I also included in your packet a Main Street visit first impression report that Marty Walsh from CEDA did for us. And I won't go into deep detail on that. Teresa and I are kind of exploring some options on things we could do downtown still. I think what it brought to light was maybe doing some incentive programs or things like that for downtown revitalization could be a benefit to us. And one other thing I did want to add that's not in my packet, Trail Creek Coffee, just wanted to kind of share some exciting news. They have been asked to provide the coffee at all 1 Million Cups events in Rochester going forward. So kind of cool for one of our small startup businesses here in town that they will be able to gain some attention in Rochester while they serve their coffee at the 1 Million Cups, which is an entrepreneurial event once a month. Every first Wednesday of the month, they have 2 entrepreneurs present their product or their business. So they'll have a cup of Trail Creek coffee in their hand while they do that, and Crystal's also working with them, and she'll likely be presenting their business model herself. So just thought I'd throw that out there.
Where is that?
1 Million Cups, it's in Rochester. It's underneath the Collider behind Blue Duck Kitchen downtown.
Okay.
Yep. Does anybody have any questions with my report at all?
I have a question. I missed a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the other lady who used to come?
Rebecca, she was on a leave of absence, and I filled in, and then I'm just going to stay in Catherine with my position at the county EDA. It was just kind of a natural transition. So I will be here from now on. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Stephanie Lawson.
Okay. And Rebecca's no longer with us?
Not here at the City of Catherine. She's still with CEDA. So,
okay.
Yep. Yep. They just switched some stuff around in the
All
organization,
right.
so.
Okay.
Missed one meeting.
Oh, really?
So on the business retention visits, Cadence
Yes.
Manufacturing?
I called and talked with Nancy. I provided her with some information. She had reached out. She has a few projects that she would like to do. She's looking for ways to try and save some money. One, electricity. She obviously uses a lot of it. So I kind of provided her some information on the PACE program through the county, in addition to some information on REAP, should she choose to look into that any further. She had inquired about redoing her parking lot. so I provided her with some revolving loan fund information too.
Okay.
And then Kent Keller in the Images Building, I connected him and Jeff with Alliance Technologies, so they can have some further discussion, on that building as well.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. We go budget review. The last meeting, we discussed a little of getting our budget more in line. If you can see across the top, we had changed full-time employees for proposed down to 11,500 for next year. Cause, well, that was the cover, you remember, Chris, that to cover the,
Well, it was better, in the years past, when we had an economic development full-time employee.
Right.
The person's no longer here, so that position was basically eliminated. And we contracted now, so instead of listing it as full-time employee, it's down below.
As a
or
contractor.
seated as contractor, yeah.
that's right, that's where I was.
We just shifted it down low.
Shifted it down, right.
Correct. We still do allocate some employees' time, like if Linda or Teresa are
Yep.
spending some time on EDA stuff, then their stuff gets billed to the EDA budget.
What are we renting that we actually don't pay any money on?
Which one's that?
Rental expenses.
Rental expenses.
2,000.
And that's
We
taken
never
out of
wasn't
budget.
budgeted
We
2,000
took it out of-
and
They've
it's
been
never
budgeting
been
that,
used.
yeah, there's never been any
What
expenses
would
for it.
what would we rent?
I have no
I have
idea.
no idea.
Ah, just in case.
Yeah,
Rent.
it's not there this year.
Okay.
And are you gonna bring up the question from the council, Dan?
Of where we were gonna get that $20,000 for the.
Well, there was some question at the
Commercial.
last council meeting for the programs
Yes.
that they wanted to know what the programs would be, so.
Yeah, we're still working on
Right.
those, trying to figure out which programs we want, how we wanna fund them. And part of the funding was coming, it's in the EDA budget, but we're trying to work on taking it out of the enterprise fund, which is funds the city makes off electric, and so it's not coming out of the levy budget, it's coming out of the others. But we,
For your for-profit business.
yeah. So we have to work on, that'll be our next line item is programs and incentives. We're working on trying to see what EDA can come up with. Is there, before we go to that, is there any other questions on our budget?
I mean, I just, out of curiosity, I mean, aside from, just, obviously wanting more information, what was council's sentiment towards the proposed budget? I mean, are we far close, are we far apart, or are we?
On this part of the budget or overall?
Proposed, as well as program, but overall.
Overall, we're not close to what was presented.
Okay, so
On
we're.
the EDA portion, I think the biggest question was the 20,000. And see, we only have the expense part of the budget here, we don't have the income part of the budget that shows the transfer. And one of the concerns was, when that's not put together like that, is that 20,000 being levied for, or is that a transfer of funds? So we just needed to clarify that. And it was gonna be, most of that's a transfer of funds and not increasing the tax levy, so. But then the question came up, one of the council members just asking, what are the programs before we allocate the money?
Spend it.
What are they gonna be type thing? I think if this is a transfer, it's not hitting the levy, we have till December to finalize the budget. And if we as an EDA had our programs finalized by then the council can decide if they like that transfer or not.
Okay.
So, that answer your question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know were they, if it was like, if we were like leagues apart, and they're saying, and the council sentiment was, that this was not in line at all with the
Yeah.
city
No, I think-
strategy, or if it is, or if they just want more clarification, or.
I think just want more information on what programs they would be.
Yep.
And then if it's a transfer, I don't believe it's gonna be an issue. If
Okay.
it was $20,000 added right to the levy,
Then it's a problem.
then it's probably a bigger issue. We would probably be a little bit apart. It probably wouldn't get funded 20,000.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
just the sentiment
Okay,
there.
so it is and it sounds like the transfer is pretty, it sounds like that's, I don't know, seems like a positive.
Yeah, it's a very positive thing. Yeah, we're using the profits from our businesses in town, so to speak, to put it back into more business.
Yeah.
So, we just had a report on our capital plan and all that, and the fund balances are ahead of where they, so we're not really robbing Peter to pay Paul, it's being used wisely, I think, personally.
So it wasn't necessarily a bottom line thing, it was just that 20,000?
Just the 20,000.
I'm just reading, it's proposed about a third higher than last year's actual?
Yeah.
Okay.
When you add the 20.
Yeah.
The 20's not levied.
Which is
for it,
about half
it's
of
a
that.
transfer. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Is there any other questions on our budget?
I guess I have another one. It looks like we have pretty high numbers budgeted for, it looks like marketing of professionals are 5,500 there. And membership dues and fees. I guess I was just wondering what, I know we talked about the white space marketing contract, and it sounded like I think it's good to have something, I guess, there just in case, but I guess I was kinda wondering if I'm understanding those correctly, and I guess I don't know what the membership dues are, but, I was just wondering what our breakouts are there.
Yeah, Nancy's not here today with the detail behind it.
Okay.
Yeah, the marketing would be the other thing that would be questioned
Okay.
also, as far as just an overall, are we better off, I think we had this conversation at EDA last time, are we better off putting that money into the programs instead of the marketing and branding, so the marketing's probably gonna get asked to be cut, so
Yeah, 'cause we had just, at the last meeting, we had discussed that it was better to put it back in.
To the
in
program.
Program and make sure we're going the right direction with what we got before we.
Yeah, so that'll be a conversation next week on Wednesday night. As far as the, dues, I guess we'd have to have Nancy tell us what each of those is for. I know 1,000's for that Southern Minnesota Initiative Foundation.
Cause
I'm not
that-
sure if the Highway 14 Alliance is even a thing anymore, if they might be EDA in the first place.
I don't remember.
Cause Smith, I thought was in the other services and charges, so that 4,500 above marketing. And then we have
Oh,
membership
you're going
dues,
membership
fees.
dues, okay.
So like memberships, dues and fees, there's 3,100, it looks like we've been about $300
Yep.
previously, which I mean is, I'm happy to be under budget, but I was just kinda curious, like, yeah, if some of that 20,000 was gonna would be able to come from those two sources, or if we have plans in place that we
Yeah,
are
no,
using that
and
8,000 for.
good, I'm gonna be meeting with Nancy later this week, and I've got the whole budget highlighted
Okay.
with all the situations like that.
Yeah.
That we've consistently spent $300 for 3 or 4 years, but we're still budgeting 3,000. Is there something that comes up every 5 years that is this year, or if not, let's move that to a different place, like you said. So I've got a whole
Okay.
list of those.
What did you pay legal fees for in previous years? Does anybody know?
Whenever you have to do a contract, we have to have a lawyer. Whenever there's any legal documents that need to come out of here.
So like probably like a development agreement or,
So with the
like a
coffee,
lease
The rental agreement with the coffee place, that's
Yeah.
all. Go through the attorney.
okay.
And then I don't, sorry, this isn't, I just don't see a place where we're going back to the the first impression report. I guess I was wondering, maybe I'm totally missing something. Which Christmas tree is Marty talking about in here? I'm not sure which one he's, like, what he.
So the two open lots that the city owns, the park benches, and there's like a sad looking little tree.
Pine tree in between.
Oh, okay, he's talking about pine tree.
Apparently he thought that there were Christmas ornaments on it in June when he came.
There were.
There were.
So that's what he's
Were.
talking about.
Okay.
Cause I just looked at it and thought, well, it doesn't look bad now, since they finally got it undecorated.
That's what I saw, when I saw the park, when I drove by the next time I looked, they're gone now. They're gone now, though.
Okay.
It was like Charlie Brown's Christmas tree. Bad.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretty good.
I'd never noticed the ornaments on it, so I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yep, they were there till
So
June.
you drive by, did you go through Main Street a lot?
Well, I live like 3 blocks north, so I like will work out at like any time or eat down, so I go by there all the time. I've never stopped and realized there's a Christmas tree there. It's just.
See, that should tell us something. People are not really looking on Main Street.
I'm not at the pine tree.
Yeah.
I'm not at the pine tree.
When I go down Main Street, I'm trying to figure out how not to get backed into.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, a little bit of,
That's the worst.
Mhm.
How you can get rid of that angled parking, you're not gonna get people down Main Street.
I'm telling you,
Tell you,
you're
you
wrong,
gotta-
because that angle parking, a lot of times is full. Since
It
I'm
is.
there, many days, there's no place to park.
I'll avoid Main Street, and a lot of
I
people
know.
will just because of that,
You
because
and all the
it's such a
senior
tight.
citizens.
Yeah, it's.
'Cause- and the senior citizens tell me, if you could angle it more, so you could, see better when you're backing
You need
out.
to go back to the parallel parking and have.
Back
parking.
to it? When
Yeah.
was that?
Well, like on the one side, on the far end, it all goes that way.
It always has been that way.
But if you lose it on this end, that's my opinion, go back
But
the
I
other
mean,
way.
when you say
Put
go
parking.
back to it, what century are you talking about?
People used to, when the lines weren't painted, they would park the other way.
I haven't had,
Parallel park, you mean?
Yeah.
No, only when the snowplow is going through and you can't.
Oh, I've seen it
the
more.
other way. And if they did, they should've gotten a ticket.
Then maybe they did.
They should double line the middle and have people not pull all the way across to Angle Park too.
No, it's double line.
It is
Parts,
double
but
line,
people
if
still
you
park.
have paint,
Is it double line?
yeah, it's yellow line.
Anyway.
Anyway, off topic.
Oh, back to where we were, sorry. So is there any more for budgets that we need to bring up?
So are we of a mind to keep our budget more in line with the budget from last year than $28,000 more?
Well, part of the increase is for the incentives, if we don't, that's over $20,000 right there. If we don't go with that, if we do no incentives, then we don't have to move on to our programs and incentive area. But we have to budget for it, we have to.
What's more than likely gonna be recommended, Janice, is if you look at that, account 334, the membership and dues, that's
Mhm.
probably gonna get lowered down to $500. So that'll
Okay.
be, $2,650 off there, and then
And
that
that
marketing
professional.
of 5,500.
Take another 5 off of that probably.
Probably taking our so now we're back, if we take that, the 20 is a transfer from enterprise funds, our levy amount will be about the same as last year.
Yeah, I mean, I can see, 10, 15, but when you're talking about,
Yeah,
20
'cause the 20 is a
to
transfer in on the
30%
top and the
increase
bottom,
in
yeah.
our budget,
Yeah,
that doesn't seem.
Basically, our levied dollar amount would be similar to last year's. If we change those two and.
Right. Okay.
So do we need a recommendation back up to the council on this then? Is the council waiting for?
We're gonna
Our
approve
input
the
on this?
preliminary budget next Wednesday night.
But this is just.
Okay.
Is this what we're sending to the council?
This was already sent,
This is already
Okay.
sent,
yeah,
and now the council is
chopping it up.
chopping it up.
Do your job, yes.
Alright, if there is no more for budget, we'll move on to our programs and incentives.
And I should have included some of the copies of what I had included at last month's meeting. If you want me to go grab copies of some of the programming that was included last month, I can do that.
You know what?
Do you want me to? Yes, I'll go grab them.
Yeah, there's just a bullet point summary on the, in the report, in our director's report, under long-term capital planning, it looks like on page 2. Oh, 'cause I think that's from, so when we had that initial conversation about the long-term capital planning, you know, kinda what's our game plan for moving ahead, we'd kinda gone the direction of having people come back with ideas for those different programs, for how to incentivize the kind of growth and the kind of strategy that we want to see. And so, you know, we had looked at some downtown redevelopment programs with like facade, you know, like facade improvement for businesses downtown, or I think any town or any
Anywhere
business,
in
I mean.
town, yeah.
You know, I think we had looked at existing building purchase incentive programs. I don't remember the summary of that one. We talked about doing like some business incubation kind of things, like I know I'd brought the expansion pack idea where we would have an application open where like startups or in-home businesses could apply, and we would provide some rental assistance, and then buy them credits essentially for accounting, legal, and marketing services, so that they could kind of take those steps to get to the next level where they would hopefully have enough business to, as we kind of scale them back from rental assistance, to take their own place on Main Street and keep growing. I think we'd also talked about the business of the year kind of, like we were talking about like having, you know, like the, like home business of the year, or like, you know, entrepreneur of the year, or innovative business of the year, whatever, have like different categories and do some kind of award thing. And I think we talked about doing a partnership with the chamber, on that, just to recognize people in town for doing stuff.
I think that gets to be hard to do partnership with the
Just
chamber,
got
because
first copy and
the
then
chamber
copy.
doesn't recognize anybody.
I've got a
who's not
multitude
members.
of different
So we talked
programs.
about, especially like if they're entrepreneurs or like a startup, then that would be like their, you know, potential members, but maybe they're not yet, and they could think about, you know, as kind of a, for them it'd be a marketing tool, I guess, to kind of communicate. So that'd be up to them if they wanna do that. If they don't, then we could do it anyways. But, I think that's what we had talked about with the programming, and where we were gonna talk more about like what would be specific dollar amounts for, you know, like if we wanna basically fund certain ideas and what that would be at.
Yeah, and what ones we're gonna do, 'cause we
Yeah.
won't be able to do all of them.
Can't do them all.
It's just not as much money.
Right.
'Cause if you look in Stewartville's, what she's bringing them, they got $30,000 just in one program.
Right. Yep.
Well, we don't have that.
Where do they get their money?
Yeah. They have to get it someplace.
Is that from the city?
No.
They get that from the
Yeah,
council?
I'm sure they allocate it over the years, or doesn't necessarily have to all be at one time.
They could've saved it up and.
So much a year, and they just, some years you get applications, some years you don't, type of thing. So we just have to decide what programs we wanna offer. Here's the dollar amount that's in the bucket for this year, you know, if we had an incentive or whatever we call it on the budget, for the programs of $20,000, and here's the 3 programs, when the $20,000 is gone.
We're done for the year.
Then we come back next year.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, Stewartville's got $100,000 in their economic development program, downtown program. It started out at that, so.
Is that like our revolving loan fund, we've got like $300,000 or $400,000.
Yeah, I think so.
What are some new towns like Minor, numbers wise, anybody know? I mean, how do we know Stewartville's got, gonna be an
It's
insider?
off of their website.
Oh, it's right.
It's right off of their website.
Okay.
That's where we were getting all our info, was right off of other cities' programs.
Okay.
Actually, this is also.
Steph, was there like a summary sheet?
The
of, like-
long-term capital planning sheet?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want me to pass one of those out?
Yeah.
Or do you just want one? Does anybody else want one of the long-term capital planning sheets?
Thanks, Steph. Should been more clear. My understanding of Stewartville, from when I was at CEDA, was they tended to budget pretty high numbers, kind of across the board. I'm not sure how they generated those funds. But I think a lot of it was, Rochester sales tax dollars. I think they had a pretty massive sum compared to a lot of other cities come through for that.
We got rid of ours.
Yeah.
I have no idea what
Ours
ours was.
was-
Theirs was pretty big, yeah. What did we end up doing, I guess,
Oh, we put it into, the old,
Folks, their garage.
Chevy garage and, sold it at a loss.
Homestead building is what we put it in.
So I think it was pretty much daycare by the time we were putting it in there, so.
Well, it's paid off, we always can probably.
I don't know. Water under the dam, I guess.
Yep.
You know what. Okay.
It only comes around once a year, doesn't it, or every so often,
That's
Rochester?
a one-time thing.
Was it
Was it just a one-time thing?
That's not going anymore, from what I understand. Right, that's once.
Which I thought was very foolish of
That's unless-
them to give them that
Yeah.
extra cash.
That's unless they let
Right.
Rochester do it again.
Do it again.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then we can get additional funds.
Yeah.
So, has anybody got any ideas? Right now, we're looking at, we're gonna try to budget $20,000 to programs and incentives. What's ideas of what we want?
I guess my personal opinion is that, just looking at the programs that we have here, looking at, like we said last time, the farm commission, where people is a good place to start. I don't know if I would limit anything to a certain section of town, downtown or this. I don't think we have the money to do that.
Right.
First of all, and then second, there's other businesses in town that aren't downtown. So
Right.
I would say that if we did some type of redevelopment program or a facade improvement, or combine those two things to where it doesn't have to be a facade, it can just be a building improvement.
Right.
Whatever it is, in the city of Casson, here's our application, how make all these zoning things fit us and that type of thing, what the criteria are. You know, then as far as the dollar amount, I mean, it could be
We don't have that already?
a loan, a revolving loan program. This
Okay,
stuff
for
here is like.
businesses, yeah.
Right, but this here is forgivable loans or just grants.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is an incentive program, so if somebody wants to come to town and buy a building or whatever it is, this would actually be you know, if you follow the rules, it's a forgivable, like, we have it listed as a forgivable loan if you follow these rules. It's a matching proportion, so we can set that up to say, hey, you can get up to $5,000. I'll use my building as an example, it's
Yeah.
done already, but we did, so if I come and said, hey, I'd like to do that, I can apply for up to X amount of dollars, but I have to put X amount of my own money and also follow the rules of what the guidelines said, then that would be a $5,000 grant, basically.
So in other words, what we're saying is you put in, yeah, like you say, 5,000, and we'll match with 5,000 possibly.
So we could do 2,500, 5,000, whatever dollar amount we wanna do, but wouldn't be just a total.
Instead of saying, we'll give you a $10,000 loan for 1%.
Right.
Right, so it's more of a.
This is more an incentive, a grant program. We still have the revolving loan program that somebody can come and apply for.
Which is 10,000 for a 3% or whatever.
Correct. And then this would be basically in addition to that. And if we could get people to, you know, if they're on the fence of, hey, I could put a new awning on the building, but it's $8,000, they could get 4 and put in 4 themselves, and we get that done, it helps the whole community.
We ran a program like that down in, Spring Grove, quite a bit smaller than Stewartville. We would just go up to $1,500, and we'd match up to one to one. And what tended to happen was, they were making, our goal there was to make, just try and keep downtown looking nice. That's why in Spring Grove, we stuck to the facade, the outside, just because we wanted it to be a look nice kind of program, like a beautification type thing. And what ended up happening was, people would do projects they probably would have done, but maybe a lot later when it became more of an emergency. And so we never quite reached that point where it looked really bad. And so, or they would do a little bit more than they would have otherwise. And so so a lot of times they would end up spending quite a bit more than our match. They might come in and do like, I think we had a few people that did like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 on tuck pointing or new windows, new doors, and then we give them the $1,500. I think we had just did a little thing where we can only do it like twice a year, and we run out right within a month, and then and then we just kept track of how much we leveraged in private investment. That was kind of our measurement of success. And it worked out, I think, really well. The way we just did it was, over there, to make sure the things happened that we wanted to have happen, was they would send us a before picture and kind of the plans of what they wanted. Then they would, and if we were good with it, they would come in with then we would pay the money out. They'd either bring in an invoice and we'd pay the invoice, or they'd bring in a paid invoice with a before and after picture, and then we'd just do it that way. And it was just, you got before and after pictures and an invoice, and it was pretty easy to make sure it happened. So it was always kind of the work had to be done first, and we wanted to see it, make sure it looked good. So that tended to work out pretty.
Make sure it was done, basically.
Make sure it's done,
Yeah, it had to be done, and then we'd pay money. So, and that tended to work out pretty well, so. But that's not to say there isn't value behind just doing other improvements too, because but that was that strategy, was the beautification.
I mean, this would work good for windows, in
Yep.
front of the building, or if you got sidewalk, or if they wanna actually, if there's ways they can increase parking for their area, if it, be good for that too. It's gonna benefit.
Are you talking like building purchase too, or is it just existing? I mean, towards, has that ever been considered?
I mean, that's one of the programs we have here that they've got is a new building purchase program. I mean, I think that one.
You have to limit what you're gonna spend on any one of those, so there's enough left for someone else.
Yeah, the building purchase one almost seems like we would need a little more money.
Oh,
Cause,
yeah.
'cause, if you're gonna buy a building, and it's say it's $100,000 or $150,000 for the building, $5,000 or $2,500 or $1,500, it's not, I mean, it's money.
Yeah.
But is
Well,
that gonna be
yeah.
the incentive that says, oh, I can get this done because I got the $1,500 now, or I mean,
Yeah.
do we have enough money in there for a building purchase? Maybe we just go with the facade improvement for the first year, see how reception we get from that. I like the idea of measuring, with the how much private investment was leverage with that. You know, we put in 10,000 for the year, but they spent 120, which is also, you know, most of that goes back into the community in some way, so.
Well, I like that, if we just, you know, if we do the 20,000, we have to cap how much per
So.
application, you know, I don't know what, that'd be the.
Maximum award.
Right,
You
so.
try one program.
Can I, sorry to interrupt, the one thing I will tell you, so I do work in the community of Stewartville as well, and the one thing is, like, for example, their facade improvement program, it says up to 7,500 per building. The building owner, they can only get up to 7,500, so if they utilize $7,500 and come back and apply a year later, they can't reutilize that. They would have to have remaining funds left over of their $7,500 that they were approved for, just because the fear there was that you were gonna get the same people repeatedly using it, and they wanted to make sure they provided the opportunity to everyone. But that's something that they've always left open for review on the table, should people come back with a different project. But two, they have multiple programs, and generally what happens is those people utilize funds from each of them, because their projects all have a little bit of a different qualification. And the one thing too, it's kind of a refreshing thing to hear that you guys talk about that your willingness to help with like the paint on the building, things like that, because there are some communities that aren't necessarily interested in doing that because it's a quote unquote maintenance requirement of a building. So I do think that that would have a huge benefit, and I do think you'll be able to get more people to utilize it. The business facade improvement program in Stewartville, that is actually going to be sunset at the end of the year, because what was happening, a lot of the projects that were coming in were not eligible due to the fact that it was for more of a maintenance requirement. So it ended up becoming more of a signage type program. People were using it for signage or their doors and windows more so than anything else. So they're actually redoing their program to open up more possibilities for business owners to be able to utilize
You got
it.
a building and you need windows, it's maintenance to put in the windows, or doors, whatever.
Unless you're gonna put in fancy windows,
Yeah.
fancy doors. I mean, we put in a, you know, full-length glass door a few years ago, which really looks nice. You guys put the thing on the front of your buildings, which really looks nice.
You said Stewartville limits it per property owner?
Well, they have it per property.
Per property?
Yeah, so,
So if you had one property owner that owned 6 businesses
whole
on the
Main
Main
Street.
Street.
He could apply for
Well,
it.
they could apply to each property.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
I
he's
just wanted
gonna
to make sure I
beautify
understood
or
that.
improve.
Okay.
Or you just put them in one.
No names mentioned.
So,
Just a question.
do we want to limit it to one program? The first year, you know, the facade, downtown not downtown, cause it's any business facade improvement program, redevelopment program. Do we wanna limit it to existing buildings in the city limits of Casson and do one program and see how it works?
The pie's only $20,000.
$20,000,
So you
so-
can't split that too many ways.
No.
Exactly, that's why, you know, and then you cap it at, you know, that's the next thing, where you cap it at, do you?
Is it 3?
Three,
What is it?
4, and you make them dollar for dollar? I mean, I'm just asking, throwing it out there.
In your experience, and Tom, you know, you work for CEDA also, so your experience of communities starting these programs, ideas for us on that, what would you recommend?
Well, I don't know, the one thing that's hard, and this is what, another thing that could be done, is if you kind of wanna see how it goes, like, for example, the city of Stewartville, what they're doing to get people to act quicker is they're only allowing an application period for 6 months, and then it'll be reviewed, if they get multiple at a time, it'll be reviewed on a project basis, so whichever ones they think are gonna benefit, like the Main Street corridor more, depending on if the funds would be exceeded. So, it's on a first come, first served basis, but then they will start reviewing project by project if they get multiple and it's in excess of the money that they have to to fund. So they're gonna have a 6-month application period to start, just so, and I think, you know, with whatever dollars they have set aside, I think they have it so they can do 10 projects with that. Assuming everybody maxed out the $5,000 or whatever it is that the max is. But it's all very dependent upon if people utilize everything we're saying they can. So if we're gonna say they can match up to $2,500 for dollar, if somebody only uses 1,000, are we gonna leave that remaining 1,500 in case they wanna come back and use the rest by the end of the year, or?
And I don't think you should. If they're done with their project.
They're done.
They're done.
Mhm.
That way, you still have money in there for someone
Right.
else.
For somebody else, yeah.
Right.
So do they do their application process, their 6 months, and at the end of the 6 months, they decide which ones they're gonna fund?
No, they take it to they have a finance committee, so, applications have to be submitted by, I think, the first Monday of the month, and that way the finance committee has adequate time to review, and then they will, follow the recommendation at the board meeting. So each application, depending on time frame, is taken to the next month's meeting.
It's not a bad idea either, then you know budget-wise,
Mhm.
because if your application period was January through the end of June, how'd it work? Did anybody apply for it? No? Okay, so as we're sitting here, what are we gonna do for 2019? We know kinda what you have left in the pot, what we can fund it with for the next year, or what's working and what's not working too.
Yep.
Can you carry over the pot?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
would be a dedicated
This is-
fund for that, yeah.
So you keep doing it, so if you got 20,000 this year and only 5 of it's used, you'll have 20
35.
next year, and then you have 35?
If we allocate the same amount.
Yeah. Yep. And that'll, every year determines on budget
What
time.
what kind of usage you had probably.
Yeah, 'cause you don't wanna put money in there if people aren't gonna use it.
Right.
So, is there consensus among this group that we wanna go forward with some kind of facade improvement?
Yeah.
I think-
In the city limits, not necessarily limited to downtown,
No, it can't be done.
and just the first year, try it on the facade side, you know, for improvements that people can see.
Yep.
And I think I'd like to be a little less restrictive on the maintenance, 'cause sometimes a coat of paint
Goes a
It
long
does
way.
go
can make
long way.
a
Yeah.
big difference,
Right.
or.
Coat of paint or
I don't know,
new
if
trim.
anybody else having
I agree.
I'm just voicing my opinion, everybody's got their own, but sometimes a coat of paint can.
Go a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm seriously wanting to know whose facade are you wanting to change, improve,
We're not.
or?
Nobody's, it's just if they're.
But
if the
you-
business
if
owner
you
wants to do it, then that's what you
If you think
do.
that we should have a program for facade improvement, although we're not saying it, there's gotta be somebody in the back of our minds that you're going, oh, their building is in, I mean, I'll be honest, on Main Street, I think the worst looking building is the liquor store, I agree with that guy. And the other one, just up from me, has nothing to do with the facade improvement, but my God, the windows are filthy dirty, and it's just a pile of junk in that building, that the guy lives upstairs. But otherwise, I'm not seeing any facades that I would say,
We're just trying to help people if there's any issues with, if they got tuck point and they need to do on brick, if they can't afford, before it becomes,
yeah, I'm trying to think who that is.
I don't know.
Maybe they know that their awning needs to be replaced, but we can't see it.
Yeah.
So maybe they, wanna spend some money, but would like some help.
Yeah.
put up a different awning, put up a different sign.
Lighting.
Lighting.
Well,
Whatever
the
it might be.
awning probably is next to me, and I'm telling you, the guy likes it.
I don't think it has to be.
I don't think
that
we're
they
pin,
want bad.
I don't think we're pinpointing anybody, we're just saying
Yeah,
that
no,
there's.
I mean, that's just what I'm thinking is that.
Cause there's businesses in town that I'm sure
I
wouldn't mind a
think
little.
we need more business brought to Casson.
Sure.
And the positive thing about this program is it's not limiting to an existing business. So, I mean, if somebody new were to come to town and they were to be in a facility and they know that there's changes that they want to make it better, it's something that
Well,
that new
different.
business
Yeah.
could utilize as well. And maybe, who knows, whatever project they pick is something that, had we not had this program, could have prevented them from making that decision.
But they'd have to buy an existing structure. couldn't be like filling in the blank spot by Moosburgers or the blue fence on our
Not right now.
side.
No,
You know,
there'd
it-
have to be something there.
It may help somebody that's currently renting, that would like to buy,
Right.
but buying and improving is too much.
But they can do one.
So if they could buy and then get some help along the way, then they're up and going. I mean, there's a lot of different
think-
things there too.
I think also, in my, I mean, in my mind, I don't think I'm thinking of anybody that looks particularly bad, but if you can go from looking pretty good to looking really good, I think that's a net benefit. But, if we do that, with a whole bunch of businesses where we're just kind of upping our local curb appeal,
Yeah.
I think sometimes those first impressions make a big difference, if somebody's thinking about relocating a business. If we have a good curb appeal, I think that can go a good ways in terms of their subconscious interest in coming here.
Mhm.
And so I think this helps with that, kind of just some of that initial stuff, but it's not a direct, like, we'll give you cash if you move your business here, but it is, good for curb appeal.
Cause if another business comes to town, they're gonna look at, is the city willing to work with us down the road when we need help? And that's how they're gonna look at it, they'll be like, oh, they're helping these, maybe if we come, we roll down, might be a few years down the road they need help, but then when they need it, it's a little benefit to them to know that there's somebody willing to work with them. So that's how I see it, I don't know.
Mhm.
So, we'll go with the consensus that we wanna do with just the one program for now. We have to work on
A budget,
What it looks like.
what it looks
Yeah.
like.
The eligibility guidelines.
The eligibility,
like that.
and, so if we
Well, we'll
can-
actually have two programs then.
Well,
The
you mean the
revolving-
revolving
the
loan?
Revolving loan, yeah, we always have
Yeah.
that, yep,
Okay.
that's never, well, I shouldn't say never go away, that should stay for.
Yeah.
So, and then try this, see how it works, see if it,
Yeah.
so we'll start with that, and then we'll
Mhm.
come up with ideas by next meeting.
Still a matching funds though.
And
type thing.
figure out our matching funds, and figure out, think about it more, and come back next month.
Our matching funds would be if we would go up to $2,000, the property owner had to put 4 in, that way. If he had to put 5 in, then he'd have to come up with the difference,
Yeah.
correct?
We'll just hit a,
Whatever the split is.
yeah.
So would you be able to put together,
Yeah.
based on that, just
Mhm. Yep.
a rough draft of that, then bring it?
I'll
we
put a
can-
draft and then we can discuss the details of it and make changes from there.
Perfect,
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah.
Is that sufficient for the city council discussion to?
Yeah,
to
so,
move on? Okay.
Yep, yep.
Just we gotta, and then, yeah, even at the, when it was brought up council, we did say that we were still working on it, we were bringing it back for further discussion, so.
Yeah, so,
How much of our loan fund do we have available for loans?
I don't
remember.
have that sheet with me, I just
Okay.
looked at it last week.
I don't remember.
is it 300?
Is that total fund? How much do
Left
we have
of-
just sitting there that we can go
Yeah.
down?
Oh,
Yeah.
then,
Ninety.
I
just
think-
less than 100,000 left available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Left available after,
I think-
After the stuff has already been on.
Yeah,
Coffee.
I think, but I can't remember.
I think it is just under 100 if I remember the two numbers I saw on the sheet from me.
Were we supposed to be getting the budget thing each meeting, or is that every 90 days?
Quarterly.
Quarterly for the,
That's right.
that gets updated.
I remember.
And then, on this, creating this, incentive fund, the revolving loan fund is a dedicated account, and it can only be used for revolving loan. So, we'll have a line item for this incentive bucket, whatever we have, but I'd like to see it to where it's for incentives that are approved or recommended by the EDA to the council and approved. So we have this facade improvement program we're gonna put together for 2019, but if something else would come up of an incentive that we want to program, so say we wanted to act on, Tom's expansion pack
Mhm.
later in the year, beginning of next year, that we could also use some of those funds for that as well. And so,
Okay.
unless you wanna have, that's like more of a question, are we saying we wanna create the facade improvement fund, and it's only used for that? So I said, I wasn't making a statement, I was trying to ask a question.
Oh.
When we establish this fund, are we establishing a fund that's used just for the facade improvement program? can't be used for anything else? Or is it just the EDA's incentive bucket that can be used for any incentive that we wanna
I almost,
come up in the future?
I almost think you have to leave it line itemed to the facade, and if you wanna do the other one, we'd have to add it to the next year budget, so it's
Right.
easier to track it.
Yep, nope, got it.
You know, okay.
Question.
What's it for? Where's it
We
from?
have the revolving loan fund, okay, someone comes in and wants us to loan them money from the revolving loan fund, and he also wants then the incentive, how do we work that out?
Two separate.
Where he
Two
comes up.
separate
Separate
applications.
applications.
But if he has to come up with a down payment of some sort, how do we find out where it's coming from? The revolving loan fund or his own funds?
You make sure there's a down payment for the, you'd have to approve the one
Yeah, that's
before you
right,
can
yeah.
approve the other.
That's a banker talking there.
That our money is not his down payment, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't use the revolving loan fund as a down payment.
Yeah, so you'd have to make sure that you approved the one, it was finalized before you
Yeah.
did the
Or
other.
you wouldn't have, you could approve it,
But just,
but he can't take any money out of there until,
so, yeah.
yeah.
So that's
You
something
could
you can
put
address
that
in
in
the
the
draft.
contract agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something
We
we
could
can.
have that
put
in
in
Yeah.
the contract.
Yep, I'll look too, at some of what the other communities that have done in the past. I'm not sure that they've put specifically in the documentation, how to address that. So I'll do some research and reach out to some of the CETA team members and see if they've had any
Yeah.
experience with that verbiage.
Okay.
Is there, so going back to Chris's question, is there a reason we couldn't have a more general, or, I mean, if we, can we do dedicated sub-funds? So like if we had an incentive fund, right, and then we said 10,000 is for sure, this 10,000, you know, and then the other half of 10,000 is in reserve. Say we run through the 10,000 facade improvements, really great, and it's a big success, we use it all up right away. I mean, we just take the rest of the reserve and just move it in there. But if it's kinda slow moving, then, we decide, you know what, let's try expansion pack, or let's try some other thing. Then we'd have 10,000 available in reserve, or do we wanna kinda go all or nothing? I guess I don't, either way is good with me, I don't.
Well, if you do a 6-month application period, granted, it would take a lot of promoting. I think the first year could be difficult to draw attention maybe. Like, I think we would need to make sure people know that the funds are there to use, but if we have a 6-month application program, or have a deadline by when they have to be submitted by, any funds that are left over, if we wanted to pursue something else in the latter half of the year, you could look at doing that. That would be another way to do it, just 'cause then you'd know for sure what you have over.
So we don't muddy the water and confuse it all? We just stick to the one?
The one.
For the first year, just to,
Yeah.
let's not throw so much in there that we don't know which way we're going, and
Right.
it's gonna create
Right.
questions on, well, where did this come from, where'd that come, let's try to make it simple, try it, and then look at our options for the next year, next budget, you know. 'Cause
Right.
we won't know for sure, like you said, being the first year of it, it's gonna
Yeah.
be difficult. And then it's black and white, what we did, and there's no. All right, we'll go with that, we'll look for the info for
Yep.
the next meeting on that. And next, we have finance committee.
Yeah, so I put that as an item on the agenda just because we were talking about these incentive programs, and we do have a revolving loan fund. In talking with Teresa, it didn't sound like you guys have had a finance committee, or there maybe was one, but it never on a regular basis maybe met. So.
The only time it met was when they had a
Oh.
application.
A request, and that's what I would recommend, but just because we do have the revolving loan fund and, you know, this new proposed program, it might be nice to have a couple sets of eyes on it
Mhm.
prior to getting to committee, just so that way we here as a board, you guys aren't having to try and find resolution to something that maybe could have been addressed prior to the meeting even
Mhm.
happening.
In the past, Rich, wasn't it usually the chair?
Myself and the chair usually.
Yeah, and then
There was one, and,
staff.
yeah.
guys still up for that?
Yeah,
There you go.
Okay.
we have a finance committee.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, other business, or anything else?
I'd like to be able to, suggest that, we can bring names or ideas here and have, her contact them. If we know of somebody who might be wanting to come in or improve their business in Casson.
Yep.
I don't know if that's the protocol right now.
I think it's a good idea, 'cause like you say, if you know somebody, it's easier for staff to reach out to them, 'cause they might not always reach out to staff.
Right, and I'm a little, concerned that, possibly, someone might come to a person, and I'd like to know, you know, I would rather hear their ideas or their wishes, rather than have one person say, I don't think that's a good idea, you know, we're not gonna bother with that. I just think that I'd like to hear all possibilities. And I do have somebody I'd like to have you call. Jerry Dahlman owns the, building pizza, place on 57th. What's that called?
Is it
Domino's.
Domino's?
Domino's, yes. He owns that building, and the, renter is next to Domino's. That's beginning to be not large enough for them. They're gonna be moving, and he is interested in, trying to bring in possibly another, you know, like, I keep telling him, we need tacos. But,
It is Tuesday.
whatever, so I'd like to have you, you know, I gave him Rebecca's name, and, now she's not here, so if you could, give him a call and just say that I mentioned it, that, and he does happen to be my son-in-law,
Okay.
so, get that right out there. Conflict, everybody's got a complaint, speak right up. So, and he had retired, he's retired from the army, he's a colonel. They live over in Orinoco. He's married to Kenny's daughter, it's little Jerry Dahlman.
Yeah, not the old man.
Yeah, not the old man. They bought that a while.
Yeah, well, excuse me for saying that.
What's that?
Wipe that off.
You're on tape, I think, what are you talking about?
Where's he at anyway?
Well,
Who, Jerry, big Jerry?
So-
He's in Stewartville.
Oh, yeah.
if you wanna,
Yeah.
if you wanna get that info
I
from
will.
her, okay. Not to cut you off. I just-
Okay.
Is there any other business?
I did wanna add, I included this, flyer from People's Energy Co-op in the U of M Extension Office in everybody's packets. I believe you, Chris, and Dan received it at the council meeting. This is just a save the date reminder. They're putting together and hosting a business retention and expansion workshop, at People's Energy Co-op. There are limited seats available. I am going to be attending this in October. More so wanted for you guys to be aware they welcome board members should they choose to, go. So I just wanted to let you know that that is out there. If you would like me to send you the online registration because you'd like to go, let me know and I can forward that as well.
What day of the week is October 12th?
Friday.
Friday.
Friday, and I'm out of town, so I won't.
Okay, okay,
You could send it to me.
okay.
Okay. Items for October's EDA, obviously our incentive program. Is there anything else? If you get anything, feel free to send it to Stephanie.
And I just wanted to comment, I liked your report. And then the top part, especially the visits and the meetings that you do,
Mhm.
that's good to know.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff that's happening there,
Perfect.
appreciate that.
Perfect.
Really nice.
Thanks. Another thing too, I did have it in my director, or my coordinator's report, but I didn't mention it, the website. I have been working to update that. I killed one of the, EDA pages because there were two. So I shut one down since it was very out of date, and the one that has all of the meeting minutes and things like that, that one is live. I updated some of the verbiage and I put contact links just so it's a little more organized. And then my intent is to put the revolving loan fund information and application out there so people can just go and print it off, no different than the incentive stuff. So, I decided to create a little project, but I think it'll be a lot more user friendly.
Good.
That way people can go to our
I've heard
website and get the
complaints
information
about
they
that.
want.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hearing no other items, motion for adjournment.
I have one item.
Oh, sorry.
The, Castle Alliance for Restoration has a meeting tonight at the library at 6:30. Obviously, we're discussing the old school. We'd like to invite anybody to come by and see, you know, what our concerns are, what we're doing, if you're available.
Good. Right, motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're out of here. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, and what I'll do, I'll put something together and I'll send it to you.
Okay.
If you're okay with it.
Yeah,
Just so
yep.
we can have eyes on it before our next meeting.
Yep.
And then we'll kind of go from there. I don't disagree with the fact that we should just stick to one program.
I think it's gonna be easier.
And I do think it, you know, I think I'll leave it on here, open for the entire year.
Okay.
Just because I do think, I am concerned with the first year, and
Yeah.
people not knowing that we offer it, so.
Yep. Yeah, just like anything new, tell
Yeah.
people know about it.
Right.
You get-
Yeah,
You know, even I think some people forget we have the revolving loan.
oh, I don't think, when you say forget, I don't think a lot of people knew about it.
Or that.
You know, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
EDA, I really think has been,